My friend convinced me to invest my entire retirement in her wellness business, so my students dressed in black and held a funeral for my critical thinking. 8 months ago, I walked away from my teaching career of 12 years to become a founding executive at a wellness company with my college roommate who'd reconnected with me on Facebook after 15 years of silence. She'd messaged me crying about how she'd almost killed herself working corporate law until she discovered this opportunity that saved her life, and now she was retiring at 38 while helping other women escape their prison jobs. When I met her for coffee, she pulled up in a white Mercedes wearing a designer suit and actually handed me a check for $10,000 right there at the table, saying it was just last week's bonus, and she wanted me to have it as proof that everything was real. She slid her phone across, showing me her personal bank account with $200,000 in it and videos of team members sobbing with joy as they paid off mortgages and student loans from their phones. My principal literally chased me through the parking lot when I submitted my resignation in October, screaming that I was having a mental breakdown. My teaching partner fell to her knees beside my car, begging me to look at Federal Trade Commission warnings on her phone, but I knew she was just terrified of taking risks because she'd been institutionalized by 20 years of bells and lesson plans and standardized testing. My students organized 3 separate interventions, including one where they dressed in black like it was my funeral and presented a slideshow called Death of Critical Thinking, with photos of me teaching them about propaganda techniques the previous year. Their parents bombarded me with emails containing bankruptcy court records and crisis helpline numbers, while my teaching partner contacted my ex-husband who flew in from Seattle for an ambush at my apartment. 12 colleagues sat in a circle reading letters about watching me transform from an award-winning educator into someone who posted 40 times a day about being a boss babe entrepreneur. The math teacher had calculated on a whiteboard that I'd need to recruit the entire population of our state to reach the income I was claiming I was going to reach. My college roommate had warned me they'd try this because unsuccessful people always attack those brave enough to change their lives. She'd introduced me to hundreds of executives at a conference in Orlando where we wore matching pink blazers and diamond pins showing our ranks while former teachers testified about making 7 figures from their phones. I invested my entire $38,000 retirement account that same week and turned my living room into what I called my empire headquarters, with supplements stacked to the ceiling. Every morning I filmed myself crying with gratitude about escaping wage slavery, while my roommate commented that my vulnerability would definitely make me millions because I was so authentic and real. For 6 months, I messaged every human I'd ever met with walls of text about changing their family's legacies and becoming wellness warriors who rejected toxic poverty mindsets. I showed up uninvited to friends' parties with supplement samples and gave presentations during Thanksgiving dinner about the slavery of traditional employment until my sister screamed, "You're in a fucking cult," and threw my vision board in the trash. My former students created a Reddit thread called Watching Our Teacher Lose Her Mind, where they posted screenshots of me claiming teachers were losers who'd settled for crumbs and poverty. They made bingo cards of my social media catchphrases and calculated I was losing $3,000 a month while posting about abundance and wealth. My teaching partner drove to my apartment in February with printed testimonies from 3 executives who'd lost their homes, but I shrieked at her that she was a dream killer who wanted me poor and miserable like her. By March, I'd maxed out 4 credit cards and sold my grandmother's jewelry to buy inventory that was rotting in my living room. I'd recruited exactly 2 people, and one was my hairdresser, who joined out of fear I'd cry during her appointments again. Last month, my roommate stopped responding to my increasingly frantic texts about needing help with expired products and angry customers demanding refunds. When I drove to her house to demand answers, I found a foreclosure notice taped to the door and her Mercedes being loaded onto a tow truck. The driver handed me a business card for a fraud investigator who'd been tracking her through 3 states where she specifically targeted teachers and nurses. He said we had good hearts and retirement funds, which made us perfect victims. I sat in my car for 2 hours just staring at that foreclosure notice before finally posting on Facebook that I'd made a terrible mistake and needed help finding teaching positions. Within 3 hours, my former students had created a GoFundMe titled "Bringing Our Delusional Teacher Back to Reality" that raised $15,000 in 4 days. The description said, "She taught us about critical thinking for years, then joined a pyramid scheme, but we're still returning her to the classroom, where she belongs, unlike the supplements nobody wants." My principal rehired me for next semester on the condition that I teach a new unit on financial literacy, using my own downfall as the primary case study.